Megan.
I'm Christy.
And we are
Homebrew
Murder Crew. With a microbrew.
Oops, baby. Hey guys, sorry about last week, man. Guess what happened? Technical difficulties.
Oh we tried to do a remote recording, but
Yeah.
we couldn't get it to work.
Yeah.
And it was so frustrating. And then we were going to do it again the next night, but then my computer crashed and I couldn't get it to uncrash. So
it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, we took a break.
Yeah, but we're here now. So
with the microbrew we didn't bring you last week.
Yeah.
Woo! Okay. So I am today bringing you guys the case of Lacey Ellen Fletcher.
Ooh.
So
sounds familiar.
Yeah. So this one's a stressful one. It is a terrible one. So Lacey Ellen Fletcher was born in 1985 and
me too.
And was raised in an environment that to external observers suggested a standard middle class upbringing in the rural South. In her youth,
rural South America or South United States? Okay.
Yeah. She is actually, So Lacey was described as a vibrant and socially active teenager. Neighbors and former classmates recall a smiling girl who was a member of the local high school volleyball team and was frequently seen exercising outdoor in the town that she grew up in, Slaughter.
Oh,
Where is Slaughter? Louisiana.
Why?
Louisiana.
Louisiana.
I mean, what a name.
That goes so hard.
I know. I was like, this can't be right. But no, Slaughter, Louisiana. However, this period of normalcy was underpinned by a developmental challenges. Lacey had been diagnosed with autism and suffered from significant social anxiety.
Mm.
So the transition from a social athletic teenager to a homebound adult began in the late 1990s. While attending high school, Lacey reportedly experienced severe bullying, a common catalyst for social withdrawal in individuals with on the autism spectrum.
So I'm assuming that her autism, and I'm sorry for any ignorance in the way that I say this and just being uneducated in general, but was she did her autism come out later on in life then? Because she seemed to be part of these social groups.
It came out more in her teenage years. She was pretty high functioning.
Yeah.
And then when she hit her teenage years and started experiencing this bullying and stuff, she started distance withdrawing to the point where she became a complete homebody and was never able to leave in her social anxieties and stuff. Of course, bullying is a common catalyst for social withdrawal. Oh my gosh, in individuals on the autism spectrum disorder.
And can we just take a quick moment to recognize that bullying still exists, and it still exists for people with conditions like this, and these kind of conditions are very difficult to diagnose, and just let's teach our children just to be kind and understanding and to ask questions rather than and
make assumptions.
Love your children better so that they don't go to school and do this kind of shit.
I know, that's such a tough I'm so afraid of that with my kids. Please don't be bullies.
Well, and I'm afraid of it with them, and whether on both sides of it, it's being bullied or being a bully. It's oh man,
it's tough. It's
probably the hardest part of parenthood to navigate. I'd say.
Yeah. So in response to her social stressors, her parents, Sheila and Clay Fletcher, made the decision to withdraw her from the public school system in favor of homeschooling arrangements when she was between the age of 14 and 16. This educational pivot is viewed by criminologists as the first stage of Lacey's social um, erasure by removing her from er,
Eraser,
erasure,
erasure, like
erasure.
erasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By removing her from the school environment, her parents eliminated the daily contact with mandatory, like the daily contact with teachers, coaches, and
Mhm.
administrators as well, um, who might have recognized early signs of medical or psychological distress. From this point forward, Lacey's interactions with the world outside her family home
Mhm.
began to diminish
Right.
rapidly, eventually reaching a state of total like isolation.
Mhm.
She was never like she never left her home. She never interacted with people. Um
So I want to say, like, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you
yeah.
already so early in. This is one thing that like I struggled with as a parent, and like with Em reaching the age of going to kindergarten and everything, and Nolan and I talking about like whether or not to homeschool or to send him to traditional school, because understanding that traditional school doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily teach the life skills that you are within, like what your family wants and
Yeah.
like your family values and stuff like that. Um But I understood pretty early, and I expressed pretty early as well. It
Yeah.
was like, I cannot be the person that teaches him, because like
Oh yeah.
you do have to, as a homeschool parent, go out into the public and expose your child to um like the other activities, outside activities. And I,
Right.
as a person who has anxiety,
Yeah.
I, if I can make any excuse in the world to not go outside, I will.
Same.
And it's, yeah. So I was like, in that respect, in that regard, I cannot be relied upon to homeschool my child.
That is a good point. So her primary diagnosis at this point was autism and
Hmm.
social anxiety. Secondary claims, however, from her parents were that she had something called locked in syndrome and Asperger's.
Hmm.
But this was never medically proven. And this was never a medical diagnosis.
Well, now they Asperger's isn't even really, it's lumped into
Yeah.
autism now, so they
Yeah.
don't distinguish it as its own
No, that's true. But this was
diagnosis
in
anymore.
the early
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
90s.
I know.
So
Yeah.
at that time it was it was
Yeah.
separate from autism.
Hmm.
But yes, now it is considered on the autistic spectrum.
Yes.
So as Lacey entered her early 20s, her mental health reportedly underwent a profound and rapid deterioration. By the age of 24, she had experienced a cognitive health decline so severe that she became unable to leave the family residence at all
Hmm.
or perform basic activities of daily living.
Yeah.
Brushing her teeth, brushing her hair, showering, everything like that. It was during this period, so this is around 2010, 2011, that Lacey transitioned to a primarily um, like sedentary life. She basically was put on this leather couch. You know which case this is now.
Yeah.
She was put on this leather couch in the living room, and this is where she lived. This is
Before
where,
you even said leather couch,
yeah,
I like just before that, I knew. Yeah.
this is where she spent her life, was living
Oh
on
my
this couch.
God.
So the nature of this decline remains a point of medical contention. While her parents later asserted in legal filings and interviews that she suffered from locked-in syndrome, so that is a condition where a patient is mentally aware but physically paralyzed.
Hmm.
Medical experts have noted that such a condition typically arises from brain stem lesions or stroke, not as a byproduct of autism.
Right.
So regardless of the clinical, regardless of that, the result was a decade of total physical dependency. So Slaughter, Louisiana is a very small town. It's a tight knit community in where the Fletchers were regarded as pillars in the community as well. Sheila Fletcher served as a teacher and was an elected member of the town of Slaughters. I can't even say the name of this town. and take it seriously. But the town of Slaughter's board of aldermen, Clay Fletcher was a prominent local businessman. This social standing acted as a powerful shield against suspicions. Neighbors, even those who lived in close proximity of them, reportedly had said that they didn't even know that Sheila and Clay had a daughter.
Oh my God. And you're pillars of the community and you don't talk about your daughter?
And the people that did know that they had a daughter said that they had not seen her since she was a teenager. So they assumed that she was gone.
Yeah.
So nobody was like, they weren't talking about her. Like, the neighbors didn't even know that she was in the house still.
So it'd be easy to assume that, oh, maybe she went off to college or something, especially if they had no idea about her diagnosis.
Yeah, exactly. And that's wild because she took her out of the school system because she was being bullied. And like, I mean, that rightfully so, but like, at that point, there was nothing, like, air quotes, nothing wrong with her.
Right.
So the teachers and stuff, like, they never even had it on their radar.
Yeah.
That she was gonna have this decline.
And it's like, listen, I understand like the innate like urge as a mama bear or a father bear to protect your child. And when you see that stuff, it's got to be heartbreaking because I can't even fathom it. But to extract your child from that situation, to protect them or shield them from that, but then what are you doing here? And also, it's like, at some point you have to let your child learn how to navigate through those social interactions, because like, that's not going to end when you're an adult.
No, definitely.
It's going to continue on in every job that you have.
Sorry, I might have to move around a bit on this. So we're going to jump ahead here and then I'm going to go back. But so on the morning of January 3rd, 2022, at approximately 2:27 a.m., Sheila Fletcher had placed a call to 911 reporting that her daughter was not breathing. The daughter that nobody knew she even had. This call and the response by Slaughter Police and the fire department initiated a criminal investigation.
Reporting. Pause. Might be my child.
Okay, everything's fine. Nothing fell.
Oh. Oh, that's so cute. Oops. So my child has brought me, he's going to bed right now. He's not feeling good, but he's brought me a stuffy that I crocheted myself.
Oh, you made that? I
did this. I freehanded this, and so it's a little super derpy, but it's a little mushroom.
Love it,
but I like the underfilament. But yeah, the head's cute. A little derpy. But he left this at the door for me.
That is adorable.
Yeah. Oh my God. Anyway, sorry for
no worries. So we're just a quick. We are on January 3rd, 2022. Yes. This is actually not that long ago. At 2:27 a.m., Sheila called saying that her daughter wasn't breathing.
Nobody knew she had a daughter.
Yeah. So first responders, when they arrived at the house, they were met with an odor so pungent that it caused immediate physical distress to them. Lacey Fletcher was found partially clothed, slumped in the hole in the sofa. A hole in the sofa. The coroner, Dr. Ewell Dewitt Beckham III, determined that she had been dead, like she was dead, that she had been dead
anybody
for
can do it,
24 to 48 hours before Sheila called.
If anyone can do it, he will do it.
He will. Yeah.
That's incredibly disturbing, dude.
Yeah. So that meant the parents had lived in the home with her corpse for more than like a day or two before seeking help. During the 911 call as well, the dispatcher reportedly guided the Fletchers through CPR procedures. The sound of chest compressions being performed on the cold, stiff, and partially decomposed body was audible on the recording. This behavior has been scrutinized by criminologists as potentially performative and attempt to simulate a sudden medical emergency to mask a decade of gradual homicide by neglect. So the internal state of the Fletcher's home presented a jarring psychological and physical dichotomy. When investigators entered the premises, they found the residence to be generally clean, orderly, and well-maintained. The parents lived a life of apparent normalcy, attending municipal meetings, church services, and even traveling for vacations. However,
while your daughter's rotting on the couch.
This order stopped at the threshold of the living room sofa. For approximately 12 years, the couch served as Lacey Fletcher's entire world. Instead of seeking medical assistance for her conditions, as her conditions worsened, her parents allowed her to remain seated in her own waste, placing towels next to her to make cleaning easier, yet failing to maintain basic hygiene required to prevent biological decay.
Oh my God.
So she was living in her own filth and decaying while she was still alive. So the most visceral detail of the case is the fusing of Lacey's body to the sofa. Over years of being seated in the same position without being removed, Lacey's body weight and her chronic presence of corrosive biological waste, so urine and feces, of course, began to break down both her own skin and the material of the sofa. Forensic evidence revealed that she had physically melted into the leather and foam, creating a deep crater-like hole in the upholstery. The pressure of her weight, combined with chronic moisture, caused her skin to become adhered to the couch's internal structure. By the time of her death, she was submerged in this hole, surrounded by years of sorry, this is making my stomach turn a little bit. Accumulated excrement.
And like you said, like that stuff, urine, feces, it's going to burn your skin.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know about like bed sores and that sort of thing. Even when I visited my dad in hospital, like the nurse or the bed even would shift on its own. Like it had that, you know, and he asked why, and she's like, well, it's to prevent bed sores for people who are here for an extended period of time. But like, so to not be moving or to not be mobile for that amount of time, it's like there's no blood flow. No. Your skin's your muscles are going to go necrotic. Like everything's just dying and decaying. Oh my God.
She became one with the couch. So at this point,
fused to it.
So she's 36 years old and she was only 96 pounds as well. So the stagnant waste, heavy environment of the sofa attracted intense biological activity as well. Coroner determined that Lacey was alive while maggots and other insects were eating her flesh. These larvae were found in her hair, skin, and even inside her body. Her hair was was matted into 24 by 18 inch into a 24 by 18 inch knotted ball.
Oh my God.
Saturated with feces and infested with maggots. The underlying of the scalp was found to be chronically inflamed and crusted. Furthermore, mouse droppings were discovered in the vicinity as well, and investigators found evidence that vermin had been feeding on her extremities.
Oh my God.
This parasitic consumption occurred while she was conscious, a detail that the prosecution highlighted to demonstrate the level of torture that she endured.
Like, was she catatonic? Was she like
Well, her cause of death was determined to be sepsis, chronic medical neglect, and starvation. She was 96 pounds, and she had been neglected for approximately 12 years. Her dermal conditions were ulcers reaching the bone, buttocks decayed to bone, and in her stomach, they found only feces and foam couch cushion.
So she's been eating her own shit on the couch.
Feeding her. Yeah. And she was also maggot infested, which was postmortem.
Oh my God.
So the final days of Lacey Fletcher's life were marked by acute starvation. Autopsy results revealed that she had survived by consuming her very environment she was trapped in.
Wow.
Yeah, they found pieces of the couch underneath her fingernails, suggesting that she had been clawing at the furniture in her final moments of life. Medical examiners ruled that the ultimate cause of death, like I said, was sepsis, brought on by a combination of acute medical neglect, chronic protein calorie malnutrition, and severe bone infections, resulting from stage, which stage is that, IV?
Stage 5.
Pressure ulcers.
Stage 5 or stage 4?
4.
Stage 4.
Stage 4.
Yeah.
Pressure ulcers that had eroded her flesh down to the bone.
Jesus Christ.
So, of course, Sheila and Clay were arrested, and they were charged with neglect, causing, neglect.
Yeah.
But prosecution of Sheila and Clay Fletcher was a multi-year legal saga that highlighted the difficulties of prosecuting domestic neglect within a system that often prioritizes parental rights or lacks clear framework of adult dependency.
I beg your...
So in May of 2022, a grand jury indicted the Fletchers on charges of second-degree murder, which carries a mandatory sentence of life imprisonment without parole in Louisiana. However, in May of 2023, District Judge Catherine Betsy, she went by, Jones, quashed the indictment based on legal technicality. The defense successfully argued that...
Let me guess, involuntary manslaughter.
That the short form indictment provided to the defendants contained critical discrepancies when compared to the official version filed with the clerk of the court, specifically the changing of affidavits, which deemed to have defective language and had not been properly amended. So because of paperwork errors. So the dismissal was temporary, though. So in June of 2023, District Attorney Sam DeQuilla brought the case before a second grand jury, which returned a new indictment for second-degree murder. As the trial approached in early 2024, the Fletchers opted to accept a plea agreement rather than face a potential life sentence. So on February 6, 2024, the couple pled no contest to the reduced charges of manslaughter. You are right. A no contest plea allowed them to accept the conviction and sentencing without a formal admission of guilt, though the factual basis provided by the state remained unchallenged.
So in other words, no contest means I get that there's enough evidence to prove that I'm guilty, but I'm not willing to say that I'm guilty. Yes. So instead, I'm going to accept this plea deal.
So sentencing took place on March 20th of 24 in a packed East Feliciana courtroom. The hearing lasted over 6 hours and featured 11 witnesses. The prosecution sought the maximum sentence for manslaughter, which was 40 years, aiming for a de facto life sentence given the age of the defendants, because they were both in their 60s at this point. Like, to remind you, Lacey, the time of her death was 36, my age. During the trial, the Fletchers showed little to no remorse. Sheila Fletcher testified that she did not believe that she should go to jail, arguing that, quote, our child controlled us, unquote.
Oh, yeah. Well, she was like While she was fused to that couch?
They basically said
feeding
she
her
was
own
paralyzed.
shit on the couch?
They said she was paralyzed.
Yeah.
And like, how? Like, according to you, she couldn't even move.
I bet you're saying that she controlled you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that they were merely respecting her desire to avoid medical attention. The girl was clawing and eating a fucking couch. I do not think that she was rejecting
and
medical.
she's living under your roof, so you have a right to provide the necessities of life, and you're clearly not doing that. So, like, where's the evidence that you attempted to feed her? Where's the evidence that you attempted to clean her? I'm sorry, but like, if I had a 32-year-old child dependent on me because of a a mental condition or what have you, whatever the case may be, and they refused bathing or whatever, I'd be like, fuck you. If you don't do this, I will call the fucking psych ward to come and take you so that they can do it, because this is not conducive to you being healthy or,
This is such a gross case.
Oh my
I
God.
hate it. The defense also, the defense presented by the Fletchers hinged on the perceived respect of their daughter's autonomy. They claimed that despite her, quote, locked in state, she was able to communicate and, quote, apparently never complained, unquote. This narrative, however, stands in stark contradiction to the physiological
You're living
reality
in
of her
squalor.
condition.
Like,
The district attorney and medical experts argued that because of her severe autism and cognitive decline, Lacey Fletcher lacked the legal and mental capacity to refuse medical care.
Right.
The parents claimed that she chose to live in feces and rot in the sofa, was characterized by the state as a convenient fiction used to justify their desire to avoid the burdens of caregiving. Reports noted that the parents frequently complained about the burden of being caregivers, stating they, quote, had not wanted to be caregivers when they became parents, unquote.
Oh my God. Then you should have had a schmortion.
Yeah. During the sentencing, expert testimony from psychologists like Dr. Donald Hopp touched upon compassionate fatigue and that psychological breakdown of caregivers. It was suggested that the Fletchers might have entered a state of cognitive dissonance, where they normalized the horrific condition in their home as a coping mechanism for their perceived helplessness. However, the prosecution countered this by pointing out that the parents maintained a high standard of living for themselves, including social outings and vacation, while their daughter starved to death.
And ate her poop in the couch.
The judge ultimately sentenced each of the parents to 40 years in prison with 20 years suspended. They were ordered to serve 20 years of hard labor, followed by 5 years of supervised probation. That doesn't seem good enough to me, but
yikes, yeah.
So the case of Lacey Fletcher is not only a story of individual cruelty, but also one of systemic invisibility. The fact that a woman could be melted into a sofa over a decade in a town of 1,000 people without intervention points to significant gaps in community and state protections.
Yes.
One of the most damning aspects of the case was the silence of the community. Sheila Fletcher's colleagues at the Board of Aldermen and her fellow church members testified to her character during the trial, yet none had questioned why Lacey had not been seen for nearly 20 years. District Attorney DeQuella referred to these supporters as hypocrites, asking where they were during the decade Lacey was locked in their home. In Louisiana, as in many states, Adult Protective Services is primarily a reactive agency.
Oh, you know where they were? In church praying for her.
Probably praying for her soul. So because Lacey Fletcher was not enrolled in the state programs and had been withdrawn from school the years prior, There was no eyes on her situation. She existed in a legal and social vacuum. The case has promoted calls for more proactive welfare check systems for adults diagnosed with severe disabilities who are removed from institutional or educational oversight. The case of Lacey Fletcher remains one of the most disturbing examples of domestic neglect in American crime. Her death was the result of a slow motion homicide that occurred in plain sight for two parents who were respected members of their community. Aren't they always? The physical integration of her body into her family's furniture serves as a haunting metaphor for the way she was subsumed and forgotten by the very people tasked with her protection. Yeah. The 20-year prison sentences for Sheila and Clay Fletcher provide a measure of legal accountability, yet the case leaves behind a profound question about the nature of responsibility, the ethics of caregiving, and the terrifying ease with which a vulnerable human being can be erased within the walls of a seemingly normal home. The forensic evidence, the 96-pound body, the maggot-infested hair, the foam in the stomach remains a visceral indictment of a decade of silence and neglect. This tragedy serves as a critical reminder of domestic privacy can sometimes be shroud or unimaginable suffering, and that the protection of the vulnerable requires a level of community vigilance that was tragically absent in the town of Slaughter, Louisiana.
Yeah, and I think that's I mean, I know for homeschooling at least in Alberta.
Yeah.
You have to apply for it, and then there's check-ins and that sort of thing. But like Lacey was literally swallowed whole from her environment.
Yeah. My understanding is the homeschooling never happened either.
Yeah.
That way they pulled her out of school with that, like, we're going to homeschool
with the intention of homeschooling.
But she never did homeschool. Yeah. She never graduated.
So where's the
she
follow-up?
was never writing exams. Yeah. Even when you homeschool a kid, they still have to
there's
write
an entity.
Yeah.
And there's an entity that oversees that homeschooling so that like you have to report to that entity.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm curious as to where that exists. And especially like it was not that long ago
that she was found. Yeah. Well, she was 36.
Oh, yeah. So it would have been a long time ago. Yeah, it would have been a long time ago. So yeah, I'm sure those things have changed. Hopefully they have, but man, that's a fucking gruesome one.
I know. I'm sorry that I put that information into your guys' brains.
Luckily it's a short one, but it's
it was one that needs to be told.
They all do.
Like, and if somebody disappears, ask questions.
Yeah.
Like, it's that I can't believe that everybody in that town were just like, oh, they had a daughter. Haven't seen her since she was 15 years old.
Yeah. And it's just,
like, they were literally going on vacation and leaving her there. Like, I bet they didn't even, like, obviously they didn't look at her every day either because it took them 2 days to realize she was dead. And she was, like, dead for 2 days.
That's just,
yeah, I wonder, like, I highly doubt, based on the description of her state and her surroundings, I highly doubt that they were performing CPR on her.
And like,
so they faked it.
Yeah. And I get that it must be so incredibly difficult as a parent. Like, it's hard enough to be a parent as it is. It's hard enough to experience the whole school thing and going to school and making sure that they're, at a level and they're performing at the same, like, that's hard enough as it is. And so from a parent's perspective, there's so many stressors on you as a parent. If you cannot manage it, that's fine, but you have to acknowledge that you can't. Don't be so proud that you don't acknowledge it and ask for help.
There's programs available to you that, like, they could have put her in a facility that would have taken care of her and would have been able to help her, and she would have been moving. She would have been eating.
It's almost like it would have been, because they're pillars of the community, it would have looked bad on them to have a child that needs special attention or has special needs, you know, like is what it seems like. And I'm sorry, but if you let your child rot into your couch, that's what it seems like you are.
Yeah.
So,
and you know what? No matter what, like if I found out that somebody, you know, at my church, which I don't go to church, but at church or at my work or something was doing something like that, I wouldn't be out there going, she's such a sweet lady. I'd be like, or he's such a nice man, you know, I'd be like, what the fuck?
He's
Like,
fucking
this
conniving,
person is a, like, you know,
manipulative.
The neighbors were still kind of defending them really bugs me.
Yeah.
Like, no, they're not good people. I don't care if they were nice to you.
Yeah.
They're not good people.
But I think there's probably a process that, you know, for people who are that manipulative, that can hide that big and dark of a secret, you have to be some kind of manipulative person. So then as the neighbor having to come to terms with that, like stark difference in who you knew, there's almost grieving in that, is like, you like to understand that I believe this person to be one way and they're the other. Like, I can't believe that. Yeah. You know, it's crazy.
This was one of the, like, honestly, one of the most haunting cases.
That's so disturbing.
I am like, I can't even imagine the suffering that she was going through. And for them to be like, she was refusing medical treatment.
This is what she wanted.
First of all, I don't believe that she was. I don't believe that she was telling them, like, no, I don't want to go see a doctor. I think that they just weren't taking her. They never gave her the option. Not to mention that, as the prosecutor said, she was not able to make those decisions for herself.
Cognitively speaking, she's not. Oh my God, Megan,
I'm sorry for the descriptive grossness, but like, this is one of those things that, like, it needs to be, details need to be told. Like, people need to understand the weight of this case, because this was not like simply neglect.
No,
like, this is neglect in the worst possible form.
Intentional.
Like, she was rotting.
Yeah.
Her body was rotting. And they were like that. Like, there has to be a word that's more serious than neglect.
Yeah.
That was not neglect. That is fucking like demonism. Like, her parents were fucking demons.
But yeah, it's you never truly know. If people can look pretty fucking perfect on social media, perfect in your church and whatever other social environments you find them in, but like, just, you know,
always important to remember that you do not know what is actually going on behind closed doors.
No.
Like, so many people present, even now, like with social media, so many people are presenting these like perfect lives. And every time that there is a case where you know, like a couple is involved, everybody always says, well, on Instagram or Facebook, they were so loving and they seem to be living the best life. Like, it's all fake.
You know who's living the worst life is the people who are constantly posting about how perfect their life is.
Yeah.
You know who's living the best life is the people who aren't posting at all.
No.
So there you go.
I post my dog.
I know, but you don't post your relationship. No, and like, I rarely post my relationship, and it's like, that's how you know. It's like, you don't have to. You're not trying to prove something to anybody, but like, to each their own. I know some people are influencers, and we're not saying one way or the other, but
you might not even know based on our social media. But Christy's married, and I'm in a long-term relationship. Like, we have partners, but we like never.
Yeah. And they don't listen to our podcast, but like, you know, it's fine.
That's okay.
But like,
they don't have to.
Yeah. Every relationship's different, but just like, that's the most important takeaway, especially in a time of social media, is like, don't believe everything that you see on social media. I mean, we know that to be true, especially in the age of AI, but like, everything can be manufactured. So ask the questions, don't trust everybody, form your own opinions, and take care of yourself and each other.
Yes. And thank you for listening to my microbrew.
And we'll talk to you again in a couple of days with a full-length episode.
Brought to you by Miss Christy. Chili.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Megan.
guys. No problem.
Okay, bye.
Bye.